it's Wheeler and the Rabbi from Another Planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. Be a ton of videos dropping, I think, from now till after New Year's. There's so much going on. The Star Wars this week, woohoo! Which is good. I get a lot of videos. I'm scared I might have to go and see that movie more than once to make notes to see how many things that are wrong with it. I know. Another show which is hard to enumerate the things that are wrong with it is Star Trek Discovery. Star Trek Discovery, the most embarrassing and awful thing you could do about it is describe accurately what what happens on that show, because it's the dumbest show on TV. And being the dumbest show on TV, it hires the dumbest people in the universe. One of those people was, of course, Jason Isaac. This is the second video I made about Jason Isaac. The first video was when he viciously attacked another YouTuber, the fantastic Mecha Random 42, who we all know and love. Well, if you do know and love her, that's great. If you don't, check out her channel. She's a great YouTuber, tons of fun. I can't imagine you're hearing me and you haven't heard her. But if you haven't heard her, just go check out her channel. She was attacked by him on Twitter because she actually reported what he said at the Star Trek convention, which was the Star Trek Discovery writers really didn't have an overarching plan, which was pretty evident to anybody who saw Star Trek Discovery. It kind of reminds me. Years ago, I used to live in Miami, and I just bought some. I'm a fat guy, and I bought some pants from the big and tall men store, right? And so I had to take him to get hemmed. I was like saying, but wait a minute, I don't want to carry them in a big and tall man bag because then people will know. People will know that I'm fat. Then I realized, perhaps they know without reading the bag as well. Same thing with Star Trek Discovery. You can tell it's pretty bad because people see it on TV. Not that many people do see it on TV because they do very closely guard their doubtless pitiful viewing figures. So, my journey with Star Trek Discovery was not always this what's what I'm thinking of? Was not always so negative. Okay, when it first started, I really enjoyed it. First 10 episodes, I was enjoying the visuals, the new take on things. I liked Jason Isaac's character. I thought everything about it was interesting me. I even liked their version of Harry Mudd. The Klingons didn't bother me. Klingons change their looks every now and again. We live with it. It's like to me they're recognizably Klingons. But then by the time it got to episode 10, which is when they took a break for Christmas, for the holidays, they came back after New Year's. That's when, for me, it started to go pear-shaped. And it just kind of, the whole Mirror universe didn't work. And the resolution of the Klingon War doesn't work. But season 2 was just went double, triple, quadruple down on being dumb. It was the dumbest show I've ever seen, with so many logical fallacies going from one moment to another, where literally they forget the same plot point. They forget the plot point within the same episode. Not even from episode to episode, but within the same episode. It's shockingly stupid. So again, it makes sense they would employ somebody shockingly stupid like Jason Isaac. So the last time I made a video about him, he was attacking Mecha Random 42 because she happened to say what he said in a large public forum to an audience. And then, of course, a swarm of SJWs attacked her with him because these vile, horrible people like to club together on Twitter and pretend they're normal. But you're not. You're not normal. So, latest evidence of how you guys are not normal is this article in Radio Times. Star Trek Discovery's Jason Isaac thinks some critics aren't true Star Trek fans. People are just jumping aboard the bandwagon, the actor said. Initially, when Star Trek launched, he says, there were a bunch of voices pretending to be Star Trek fans, complaining that we were social justice warriors. But you are? And that it was all too right on. It was. The Me Too generation, and that we had a young black woman as lead. Aha! No! Nobody complained about that. And this is a hard point for these baby brain, tiny minds of the blue check marks on Twitter to understand. Most people aren't opposed to anybody of any skin color or ethnicity being made the protagonist, the lead role in any TV show. I think most people really don't notice it at all. When they do notice it is when it was done to be noticeable, as on Star Trek Discovery. See, I was having this, I had almost an identical conversation yesterday on not conversation. It was a quick back and forth on Facebook when somebody said somebody misinterpreted, woefully misinterpreted what I was saying to say I don't like anybody who's not white being on TV. No, what I dislike is racism, and racism is when you make somebody's skin color, ethnicity, gender, whatever, sexual orientation the driving focus rather than character. So, essentially that's exactly what happened with Star Trek Discovery. The main character wasn't a young woman who was black; it was a black woman. And that's the difference. And again, we shouldn't be talking about color. We shouldn't be talking about any of these things because none of these things should matter. But they do matter to the people who believe in identity politics, who are what I like to call racists. They're all racists. So he's going around calling everybody racist by pointing out that they are, this show was marred by your average white middle class guilt-ridden racism, which of course he is a prominent member of the class. So then he goes on to this. This is like the bingo of anti-fandom menace stupid. So let's see what he's going to say next. And then they were exposed pretty quickly as a bunch of non-Star Trek fans, racist right-wing lunatics, because the real fans took to them as soon as the show started running. No, the exact opposite happened. People who weren't racist said, "Why are you focusing on race and color and gender rather than telling a good story? Because you're not telling good stories. You're telling very bad stories." And really, it seems to us the only thing that really matters to you is promoting this social agenda, because you guys are social justice warriors, because you guys, that's who you are. So rather than making a good show, much like in Star Wars, much like in Doctor Who, much like in Marvel Comics, much like in DC Comics, much like in much of the culture. So what Jason Isaacs doing is what every freaking SJW loves to do, and say, no, your attacks on me, I'm being totally normal. You're a right-wing troll. Yes. No, you're just an idiot. That's not what Star Trek fans think. No, okay. There was a loud contingent of people which they are called Drekkies, which is a name I think they very well earn, where they will not hear any criticism of Star Trek Discovery, and they will immediately call you a racist if you do criticize Star Trek Discovery. I mean, other than the terrible writing, the thing in the premise which is just so achingly stupid is there's I think 75% female crew. That would be fine with some kind of explanation. Yeah, I think most people, especially in the military and in STEM sciences, they tend to skew more male than female. And the more data that we get in, when people are given complete freedom of choice and equality of choice, is that women tend to skew away from STEM subjects. That's the reality. I understand that's what new wave or the third wave feminists don't like to believe, but it's still what the data says. The more freedom of choice you have, the less women you have going into STEM subjects. So I would be fine with the 75% female crew, and it's also if you want to do a female-orientated Star Trek, fine. It's just probably not for me. But it needs some kind of in-story explanation to explain how social norms have inverted over the 300 years. And then they invert back the 10 years after the Star Trek Discovery takes place. Yeah, it didn't really bother me that it didn't fit into Star Trek canon. And they were very quick. Sorry, so he keeps going on. And they were very quickly drowned out by people telling them they thought the makers of Star Trek were social justice warriors. They're absolutely right. That's true. Because that's what it's all about. Yes, that's true. They had a Russian on deck at the heart of the Cold War. No, no, they had, yeah, but that Gene Roddenberry wasn't a social justice warrior. He was a genuine progressive. You see, this, again, and this is the difference. In the 60s, 70s, and 80s, people actually needed to fight against injustice. It's social injustice. And there was social injustice. You know, I lived through it. But by the time we got to the 80s, I don't think it was a real issue, especially the late 80s, what skin color you were. And again, I lived through it. What skin color you were, what gender you were. There's a difference from 1967 and 1987. There was a massive social shift. I just don't see this prejudice being around. But people need, like Jason Isaac, people with a empty, meaningless lives need to feel fulfilled about themselves in some way. So they need to feel they're fighting the good fight, that that they have some kind of relevance and self worth. So they still continue to try and be progressives, but now they tell you you're a racist if you think that men and women, let's say that genders are in any way not fluid, like the science said. If you follow the science, that gender fluidity probably isn't a physical reality, more a psychological complaint, then you're a racist. If you're somebody who thinks, as the science clearly dictates, that a late term abortion is probably involves killing a human being, then you're probably a racist. See, when you have nothing to fight against, and you fight against reality, which is what Jason Isaac does, which is what social warriors do, social justice warriors do, and so I don't understand how you're saying, "Ah, we're not social justice warriors. We're the not." No, I say we're not social justice warriors, and then do everything social justice warriors do. So let's see what other stupid idiots say. I think the idea of social justice. Did I read this yet? Social justice and diversity and the indivisibility. These truths are at the heart of Star Trek franchise. Yes, they are, but they were implemented by people with talent and intelligence, not like people like you, Jason. And these truths were shown to and these truths that the show was built upon from the very beginning of the 1960s. Yes. So you know what? You're making a great point. The people so you have two possibilities. The people complaining about Star Trek Discovery were real Star Trek fans, aghast at the agenda-driven drivel that you had made, or the people who, and they were completely aware of Star Trek's heritage of equality and diversity, and they liked Star Trek a lot because of that. Or they were right wing or trolls or Russian bots attacking you because you weren't being a social justice warrior. What? No, I think in your head you think people really just didn't like her having black skin. No, it's not that we minded Burnham having black skin. We minded Burnham being a really bad, unengaging character who was a Mary Sue. It was a big part of the conversation in the beginning because that was a reintroduction of the franchise and its attempts to bring these truths to today and to bring Star Trek to a new generation and continue its legacy. I haven't seen that been very successful as yet because they've really kept the audience figures very, very tightly under wraps, and they've done it as much as they can to engorge them and to obscure them. What did they do? They included the Showtime subscribers into CBS All Access numbers, and they include people who cancel their subscription into their numbers, calling them Paul subscribers. Now, if they were doing really well, I don't think they would be doing that, but I don't think they are doing very well, which is why they're doing that. So what else? Can I be bothered to talk through any more of this stupid article? Not really. Personally speaking, I'm kind of torn. Star Trek Discovery is coming back. They said in early 2020, which I thought, what, isn't Picard coming out in January 24th? So I'm torn. Like, I'm going to watch it to review it because it has so much content for a fandom people to talk about. but it's just so painful watching something so painfully stupid take itself so seriously. And talking to people who take themselves so seriously, we're back to Jason Isaacs. So listen, if you're upset by Jason Isaacs in this article, take a little bit of solace that he's crying into his beer this morning because this was a third referendum on Brexit, and for the third time, the British people, this time overwhelmingly, said no, we want to Brexit. And he's from an elite group of people who go, no, you silly commoners, you shouldn't do that. So any hope of Brexit being delayed, well, I'm sure they'll delay it another way. But a major hope they had to derail Brexit just got blown out the water because they titanically lost in an election. So yeah, I'm kind of happy about that. So it's not good to revel in somebody else's sorrow. I wouldn't recommend that. But for Jason Isaacs, it's hard not to. My name is Fila Beck and the Rabbi from Another Planet. Please like, share, and subscribe. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. Let me know what you think. Put a comment in the comment section. And all the normal stuff. Like, share, and subscribe. Do like, share, and subscribe. I would love to get to 300 subscribers. What's that, like 204, 206? I don't know. But subscribe. Make a rabbi happy. Subscribe today. Thanks so much for listening and have a great day.